Welcome to this week's video, and today I will be applying this Corn Berserker's paint job over to this Chaos Terminators. Now, I'm not the best painter in the world, I am going to make mistakes, but I hope you do enjoy this video. First up, we use Flesh Tearers Red, which is a contrast paint, which is obviously a very dark red paint. So what I do is I apply this to all the metal plates on the body, like his legs, his shoulder pads, his mask, his chest, his back. Everything that you can think of would be red gets painted red, and look at it, it actually looks pretty nice up to now, which is surprising. Next up, we add our Rune Lord Brass. Now this is a base paint. I did dip it in some water to thin out the paint, but I think I did thin it out a little bit too much, so I did start taking straight from the pot for the second coat, just to thicken it up a little bit. Now Rune Lord Brass is obviously a brass looking colour. We applied this to all the iconography and the tusks on this model. I even used it for the spearheads and stuff, and I did use it for like the little edges around like the backpack parts and everything like that, and it did give it that nice little touch. As you know, Rune Lord Brass is used on the Corn Berserkers that you do paint according to Games Workshop, which I did follow their guide for this. After we've added our Rune Lord Brass, we move on to the weapons and spear tips. So with this, we are going to apply some Iron Hand Steel, as it gives it that nice metallic look with the flakes that are inside the paint. Once again, I did go through with some water and the base paint just to give it that thin layer, and then I retraced my steps, went over with a thicker base paint with no water just to give it that more metallic look on the model. Yes, if you make some mistakes, you can go back over it with the previous colours, and it's just simple patch up. Now for the Rakkar Flesh. Now I use this paint on the tabards, the little flaily bits on him, and the skulls. Now the reason I use this is it's kind of like a skullish colour, in all fairness, like it's more yellowish than fleshish. That's a really weird way to put it, but I use this for like weapon handles, the tabards, the skulls, anything that I could think of. And then we did apply another shade to it later on, just to give it that little edge highlight, not edge highlight, but that little contrast of colours between the two elements that were so close together. Now for weapon casings, pipes, anything else I could think of on this miniature, I did use Corvus Black. Once again, it's more of a greyish black than a pure black, and the reason I used this was it just looked pretty cool with the miniature, and Games Workshop do recommend this colour when doing the Corn Berserkers, so I thought I'd just follow their guide. Once again, not an avid painter, I do it in my spare time just to chill out a little bit, but I applied it to all the gun casing, the pipes, everything like that, and once again went back over it with a thicker base coat afterwards just to give it more of that black tint. Now for the tricky part, I had to use Warpstone Green for the eyes. Now, I told you I'm not a great painter, so doing these eyes were quite tricky, so they don't look the best, but I did try my best with this part. And to add some weathered texture to like the weapons and everything like that, I covered it in Rattling Grime. I applied this to the chains, the gun barrel, and the mace itself. The next shade I added was to the tabards and skulls. Now I used Agrax Earthshade for the tabard, and then I thinned it down with a little bit of water for the tabard, but with the skulls I used it thick and fast, and I even applied it to the Rune Lord Brass to give it that dirtier feel, to make it look like the armour has been worn for quite a long time. And I have to say, it does work out pretty well. As you can see here, the armour turns a completely different colour, and it just blends in well with that Flesh Tearers Red that is on the model. So like I said, I am applying it right now to the skulls at a darker shade, just to give it that little bit of difference between the two when they're so contrasting next to each other. So this is what the model is looking like right now. I have to say I am quite pleased with how this has turned out as far. But for the helmet on top, I used a little bit of Talosaur blue just to get it that little bit of pop, and I did put some Imperial Fist in the eyes. As I said, I did apply Rakor flesh to the weapon handles, but I then went over it with snakebite leather just to give it this greenish leathery look, and it looked pretty good with this actually on top. Add a little blood for the blood god onto the weapons just for that extra touch. This is how I started. I am very proud of this one, and this is how my Terminator turned out. Like I said, I'm not the best painter, but I'm happy with this paint job. If you guys like this, please do like and subscribe.
Won't stop till I wear the crown.